dirty. One side's clean. I clean it every time. Every time there's a world, I
January
clean
18th,
it.
20.
And I get something back out of it. That's the harvest. And that's the putting back together of the two rocks. Okay, now. Cut all that out. Now. Okay, so now the Lord's going to show me that somehow our right eye goes up to a star, which is a prince. Well, that's hard to believe, guys. I was sitting there just going like, okay, well, how am I going to believe that? The scriptures say, those who are wise shall shine like the stars in the firmament. Okay, in the end, those who are wise shall shine like the stars. The word stars also means princes. It means as in round or shining. Okay, the Lord told Abraham, your descendants will be more than the stars in the sky. So there's scripture that supports what the Lord was telling me, but to actually be able to wrap my brain around that, when I look up at the vast amount of stars that are in the sky, one of those represents really my being, my light. Okay, that's hard to believe, isn't it?
My right eye.
It's pretty hard to believe. So in San Antonio, I heard the Lord say, I know you need a confirmation. So he walked me over in my kitchen, and Corey, how many times have you seen perfection? I will pray and I'll say, Lord, this is what I heard you say. Mm-hmm. You told me you will confirm that everything you told me is true, and I will open up a book that's got 800,000 words in a thesaurus, and when I open it up, the word coming out of my mouth will be right on that page. That's the only reason Grand Junction got done, is because it said canopy, layover, and stuntman. So he affirmed, the word was affirm in San Antonio. He affirmed. I opened it up, it said affirm, and the word affirm said to testify as being completely true. Okay, but still, he walked me over in my kitchen, and Corey, how many times have you seen perfection? I will pray and I'll say, Lord, this is what I heard you say. You told me you will confirm that everything you told me is true, and I will open up a book that's got 800,000 words in a thesaurus, and when I open it up, the word coming out of my mouth will be right on that page. That's the only reason Grand Junction got done, is because it said...
But this thing right here that wasn't there before was right there at that alleyway where the William Penn building is. So what I'll do is I'll look up 2020. He's going to come in a red jet plane. The beast that arises out of the bottomless pit. Return of our Lord and Savior. Everything's about to change. 12 disciples. Communication with spirits. Jesus, the front man, Satan's false light. And then census. Billy's counting on you. Christ Henry, the star child. Loud and clear. Census. Coming a Messiah. But how come I don't pick negative things? Well, because this is just my right side. I'm taking the right side of the words that are in there. Light on earth. Because it could say, well, it's a bad example. The art of death faking, the God that failed. So how do you really truly know what you're taking, what you're picking? You don't. Until somebody else confirms it. Or doesn't. But there's markings everywhere. 3 Z's, like you're sleeping. And then, is that a 2 and a 3 or a 2 and a 5? Like a 2-3 bypass, or is that a 5? Couple more Z's, and then a 6 and a 1. But If you go on the other side, I don't think it'll be there. Well, yeah, it's a 9 and a 1. And the sign's not there, but all these markings are there. 9, 1, 19th. Tomorrow's the 19th. Tomorrow's the 19th. 1, 9. 1, 1, 9, 2022. It's 9, 9, 11 mirror imaged.
Canopy, layover, and stuntman. So he affirmed, the word was affirm in San Antonio. He affirmed. I opened it up, it said affirm. And the word affirm said to testify as being completely true. Okay, but still, honestly, I didn't completely believe it. When I look up, one of those lights in the sky is me? That's crazy. Well, what did Lucifer say in Ezekiel 28? I will set my throne above the stars of El, of God, El, the Almighty God.
So what you're saying is, what I'm perceiving is, in this this guessing game, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, it's hit or miss, it's yes or no. It's one or the other. You're saying one eye goes up to heaven. Like this building is up. So, and then the other eye because it is an eye looking like an eye. The other eye goes down to the pit. And that's the worm side. So what I'm perceiving is that when you're born, or just through technology alone, when they send waves in your direction, your eye, one of them gets your right eye, like whoever is above us, Lucifer, because Lucifer will set his throne above the stars of God. And when you're down here on Earth, with the technology they have, well, Lucifer would have your right eye up there, and then but the angel, the bottomless pit down below, he gets to see what you're doing your entire life too. And what if everybody was born? This is just a thought. What if everybody really was born as twins? And the ones that are born with twins, nobody knows except for like the doctors. And one of them goes up, and one of them stays down here. But this is a twin system. Two different eyeballs here. One goes down, one goes up. So I thought at one time, it's just one person can see through your eyes. But what you're saying is, Enki and Enlil each have one of your eyes to see. Whoever is from above, whoever's from above there, and whoever's down here. But what about the ones that pluck their eye out? And they put in a robotic eye, I guess.
So the word star equals prince. Lucifer said, I will set my throne. Look at the word throne. It means as in filling up hollows, like a wasp nest, like your left eye is connected to the pit. And there's a hexagon and there's a worm in there that is filling up the hollow like a wasp nest. So it's easy for me to believe my left eye goes to the pit because I have so much data. It's like, it's a no-brainer. The Vatican and all.
Like I am from the pit. Well, maybe I am from the pit. Got all that. See, the Vatican, there's one that's the literal one with the Pope, with Pope Francis over there. And then there's the Vatican, the secret Philadelphia Vatican that's ran by the one that's been showing me everything that's here. And it seems like it's a battle between who is the real Vatican. Like, who's the imposter of the Vatican? Or who has the right, the claim of the Vatican? So the whole model is played out here. And then also talking about the Vatican, the Pope over in Rome.
I think I know why. You see, when God sends Moses in the face of Pharaoh, this is why God says Moses would be God to Pharaoh. God knew that in that man called Pharaoh, that Satan himself had incarnated that man, just as he did in the Garden of Eden. He incarnated that serpent right there. And when he did, he caused man to fall. And he brought sin into the world. Death set in to the world. This has a lot to do with what goes on in Egypt. The battle is not between flesh and blood. This battle is between God and Satan. And so what God does when he has Moses come in there and he throws that rod down and it becomes a serpent. See, now, Pharaoh, no doubt it angered him what happened there. So he has his little magicians come out and do the same thing. But when Moses' rod swallows up the serpents or the rods of the other ones there, he swallows them up, and then they take that rod by the tail, that snake by the tail, and it turns into a rod again. God is letting the devil know, I have got full control over you.
So, Lucifer, from what I've learned with the way that Jonathan Kleck is showing it, is with this system here, Lucifer is the male-female system. That's what qualifies you to be that. And so Lucifer he would set his throne above the stars of heaven, of God. Even if there's stars that are above here that he controls, that control you, that watch you, his throne will be above those stars. And he can just look out where he lives and look at the stars below him, being up on a high mountain somewhere or some other plane of existence. And at the same time, in a power sense, Lucifer has the ability to be set in place of all of those stars, to rise higher than. But that's at a time when people think that he's going down for them. But he's really going up to prepare the the music for God.
This is the world's smallest country. The Vatican City-State is less than half a square kilometre in size and home to around 800 people.
This is even smaller.
Home to around 800 people, one of whom, Vatican City-State, is less than half a square kilometre in size and home to around 800 people, one of whom is the Pope. The Pontiff is not only the head of state.
Pontiff. It sounds like Pontiff, like Pontius Pilate. Pontiff. Powerful Pope. Pontius Pope.
But is also head of the government of the Catholic Church.
So the Pope is in charge. He is the head of the government of all the Catholic churches.
Known as the Holy See. This institution has existed for the best part of 2 millennia and represents over 1 billion baptized Catholics worldwide. An old and secretive entity, the Holy See acts as a surprisingly powerful player in global diplomacy.
So that's the question. Is the Pope head of the world's most powerful government? So then who would be the Pope? Well, his name is Pope Francis.
So I kind of thought that that was interesting. Now, this is what's going to happen with the Pope of Rome. The Pope of Rome basically is the modern day Pharaoh today.
But then I remember you saying that, well, when Moses was a child, he dressed up like the Pharaoh, and they wanted to kill him for that. So I interpret that as he dressing up, headdress, acting as, trying to get people to perceive that that's who he is, Moses, being the Pharaoh. But if he was trying to be the Pharaoh with a headdress, then that means that he wasn't the Pharaoh.
You have to remember, Pharaoh of Egypt was not only the political leader of the world, he was the spiritual leader of the world.
I see. So you got to be a very spiritual person because you got to talk to all the people in the world. They all come to you. I mean, they all come to the Pope.
It's the same thing the Pope of Rome is. That's why he has the 2 keys on his flag. He's the both spiritual and political leader of the world. All the spiritual dignitaries come to Rome and are joining back in, and they're actually saying it. We're coming back to the mother. We're coming back to our mother church.
And the Pope, so he lives on earth, obviously. Lucifer set his throne above the stars of God, up there, in a literal sense. If when Lucifer's down here, he still sets his throne above the stars of God in a power over the principality, the power of it over the air, over the airwaves, having the power over God's princes, God's stars. And then when you're born, sounds like it's not just whoever's representing God in the heavens is watching you. Whoever's representing Satan in earth is watching you. So you got one up, one down. One of them's watching you from the pit, and this is representing a pit. There's the bottomless pit, and the other one is from up, star that's up in the sky from here. Unless the only way that they see is by you volunteering to give them your eye. When you do the host body system. But I think it's more of a technology where It's just laser technology. You can see right through you.
Great, well-known evangelists and charismatic leaders and denominational leaders are all saying we're coming back to the mother church. Even when we've seen this prayer that went on over there with Shimon Peres and Mahmoud Abbas and the Muslim leaders and Christian leaders and everything. Oh, look at how nonsense this is. The earth, the judgment of God, the judgment of the great whore, which is the Vatican in Rome. And when I come down
in Rome, so there's a Vatican in Rome, and then there's the secret Vatican here. And there's St. Peter and Paul's Basilica. And all nations will flow unto it, just like they do in Rome. So all nations flow unto it, all people. The Pope, the real one behind the mask, is in charge of both political and spiritual, the government side, political and spiritual side of it. Lucifer above the stars god, Satan below. So those three and this one's a female on the outside, that one's a female on the outside, and this is a male. So Lucifer, male, female. Satan, male, female. The one representing Satan, the person. The one representing Lucifer, the person. The one representing Pope, the person. The beast, the false prophet, and the Antichrist.
and I condemn the Vatican, please understand, there's like today, I was flipping through the channels there and I come across a Catholic channel, a nice young lady there, an Oriental young lady that was a nun, and I could not help, my heart went out to this young woman. I thought, God, if she only knew what she was in. As well. But not long after that, I realized that the negotiation wasn't the Palestinians in Israel. All along, it was the Vatican in Israel. And sure enough, we know that Rome is Esau and Israel is Jacob.
Israel is Jacob. Rome, Vatican, Esau, and Philly. I've already said this before. Esau is up here where the hidden Vatican is because it's a snake, which would be Esau. And the serpent rising up from the sea, and then Israel being down here, the first flag. Six-pointed star, that's the same 6 points at the Logan Square, which has a tomb that's sunken down. I heard something about David's tomb, and there's 12 trees, and this tree is the 12th one chopped down, cut, completely uprooted. And that tomb, when I was down there, it looked empty. And sunken into the ground. Because all these bolts were on there. And then there was there were 6 bolts on the other side. And at this time, the tree was still there. And then just like Lazarus raising from the dead, 12 trees. It's 6 points. So a Star of David, 6 points. Kingdom divided. There's the marker right down the middle, and then right down the middle. The Masonic Temple is over on that side. 1 North Broad Street. 1 Neo.
In Israel. All along it was the Vatican in Israel. And sure enough, we know that Rome is Esau and Israel is Jacob. And yes, now that their 9-month negotiation has come to an end, what did they do? Shimon Peres, Abbas.
June 14th, 2014. So if it's Esau and Jacob, and it's the Pope of Rome and the false prophet. If it's Enki and Enlil, and Enki is, well, Enlil, it's funny because if you look at Enlil, and then Enki is the one that has created, he loves his creation. Or is it that, because this is an E here. It could be Enki, it can be Enlil. It can be Esau. But the serpent is coming by with food in his mouth. And that food could have come from down here, Israel's side. Like Jacob's side, Israel. And then Esau is coming to devour.
Was showing that he had judged sin. He brought that judgment in. He had control of Satan. And that's what
Back on June 14th, 2014.
he's doing with Pharaoh right there. He's showing Pharaoh, I control the whole show. When you got into that serpent, I control that. That he had judged sin. He brought that judgment in. He had control of Satan. And that's what he's doing with Pharaoh right there. He's showing Pharaoh, I control the whole show. When you got...
Now, there's a God on earth. Because there's 3. No matter how I look at it, there's 3. There's always 3. It's like really identical. Hard to distinguish all 3 because they're all very similar. Because you can have a God on earth that runs the whole show, like the Pope. Everybody comes to him as if God is with him. It's all a show. But what if behind the mask is God really is with that person? And that's what, it's not really what if. Satan is loose. He was bound. He's loose for a little season to deceive the whole world. So when Satan is loose, like from his chains, his bonds, and he's unshackled, and he's going out to deceive the nations once more, who is he going out to deceive once more? God's people? Or once more, everybody that was with him? Because he was given power already years ago, and he has the ability to do whatever because he's the Pope. And the serpent has a wounded head and does live. And then God commands the serpent to strike.
And that serpent, I control that serpent. He's letting Pharaoh know, I'm controlling you as well. This is why Pharaoh gets his heart hardened and why Pharaoh relaxes. His heart's hardened and his heart relaxes. Just like that serpent, God has Moses throw that staff down. It turns to a serpent. He can grab it by the tail, go back to a stick again. Why? God is controlling everything. And
8 years.
Holy double eights. October 21st, 2021. Same day Barack Obama came to Philly.
I want to thank Mr. Philadelphia for these. Listen, what our last name is. Distracts all of us from the truly destructive actions that his appointees are doing.
So at that time, I just wanted to let you know what Jonathan Click needed to show me at 8:48 a.m. What God told me.
God is controlling everything. And so God is letting the devil know, you might be in that body, but I'm going to make you obey everything I say. You will do whatever I want in my hand. You will do exactly what I want you to do.
This man shapes its foreign policy, Archbishop Paul Gallagher. Here are his key strategies.
No, not him.
Pope Francis comes with his own particular experience of being a Latin American, being Argentinian, a pastor of a very big and important diocese.
Pope Francis is the first non-European pontiff in modern times.
So that would be a power struggle over, will the real Vatican please stand up? Because one of them is an interpretation of the host body. In the beginning, God created man and woman, and then the other one is representing the spiritual meaning of it. Because there's a truth to both ways of it. Just depends on who is doing it.
I don't like to put it as an absolute that we're in the 70th week of Daniel, but I would say that it is certainly, it points to the possibility that if we're not, we're very close to that time. As I mentioned to you guys.
So that would be June 14th, 70th week being, when you're looking at it as 70 weeks of 7 years, then the 21st, or June 14th, 2021 was 7 years, and coming up would be 8 years at the end of the 70th week.
That's from Revelation 11, from the Christian Bible, from
If it started back then.
my Jewish friends that listen in. It says that John was given the order to take a reed, or he was given a reed likened to a rod to measure the temple, the altar, but to leave out the outer court, for it's given to the Gentiles, and they will.
Oh, and then you'll have John, and then you would have somebody named John.
Tread down the holy city underfoot for 42 months. Now, this cannot apply to the Palestinians.
Why not?
Per se, because the Palestinians have been there for a lot longer than 42 months. That is before Israel's victory in 1967.
It sounds like everything started back in 2014, in the beginning, 2014, because that was when the crowning happened, or was it?
Tomb of David, how that the Pope of Rome came fulfilling Obadiah's prophecy. Pope of Rome to actually come to Israel. Maybe the upper room I would not have an issue with. It is a Christian site. But the fact that he comes and he puts on his triple crown, or perhaps it's not considered his triple crown, but nonetheless he puts on a crown showing that he is the King of David. You have to remember in 20...
So the Pope equals showing himself the King of David. I mean, I've seen SJD claim to be that. So again, anybody that's saying it directly, anybody that has anything in gematria that's telling a story, it's usually not true, and it's all an act. So, but King David would be considered the Pope in this scenario.
13, the government of Israel gave the Pope of Rome an official seat there at the...
I mean, he could also be Absalom too, right? The son? Or no, he died, right?
Tomb of David. Giulio Miotti on Israel National News, Arutz Shiva, published the article about this. Why this official place was given to the Pope of Rome?
And so let's say it started back 2014. Then 42 months later is May, June of 2017. But when you go 4 years, a seventh year, when you're counting the seventh full year, 365 days later, and then into the eighth, then halfway through is 4 years. And then at the end is 4 years. Which means there until June would be, or 2014, 22. Which means January, this is the year, this is the 8th year. If it started at the beginning of 2014. And then halfway up, 4 years, halfway in between, somebody else takes over. So that would be in 2018. That would be at the beginning of, that'd be January 2018.
God says about those two witnesses, I will give power unto my two witnesses. I told you they're already here.
So they're already here. January 1st, 2018. The two witnesses, anointed ones, revealed in Torah code. So if they're already here, I mean, are you talking about as of that day right there? Or were they already here before that date right there? Because the reason I asked that question is because the day prior, at least on record, that's where Derek's channel, and he's a global witness that's coming up, rising up from the sea of humanity. Again, no, like I said about when people have names in it, well, what does it mean? Because you do witness to the Spirit of Christ. But some people are meant to witness it only, and others are meant to usher in vocally.
Here, because he gives them the power. He didn't say, I'm going to send Beshabetecha, with the staff of your heritage, with the DNA that is within inside of you. So when God says about those two witnesses, I will give power unto my two witnesses.
And so the person playing Yahweh, I believe, would have two witnesses that are witnessing to him being the God of the earth. Because the two witnesses stand before the God of the earth, right? That would mean that the God of the earth is a person that lives on earth like the Pope, because the Pope is considered the God of the earth, and then he would have his two witnesses. but the one behind the mask would have his two witnesses confirming that he is the God of the earth. But there's also a God of heaven there, and then Lucifer wanted to do it better than God and be called and worshipped as God up there. So then the Pope would be down here. And then there's that Jacob Esau battle. There's an Enki and Enlil battle, but there's also, I heard it was Enki's sister that was responsible for the like the flesh suits.
I told you they're already here.
So they're already here. And so when did you start your channel exactly? Oh wait, let me look. February 23rd, 2011, you started your channel. Back in 2011, right before Harold Camping was announcing that Christ is coming, Jonathan Kleck started his channel in 2011, which means you were already here. Steve Ben-Nun was already here. And because I'm going by the most influential people that I've come across on the YouTube platform to help me understand scripture and the things that are unsearchable, then I'll go to the dates that they started and try to connect. And then when it says soon all nations will come against Israel, all nations will come against Israel. And the apocalypse type of battle. And when you look, when I start at the very first, the very front, Israel's the first flag right there. And all nations are just coming after Israel. We're all aiming towards Israel. Because that's the end point. That's the end of the hypodermic needle. Turkey baster. And then all nations are going to come against the person who represents Israel. But you're going to need that kinsman redeemer also. So with each level, each person playing a biblical character, and the way I see it is you'll have a Moses and an Aaron, and they'll be similar together. And then one of them starts out as Moses, and then 4 years later, the other one, he does his transformation into Aaron, or something like that, where one goes from John the Baptist to the Christ spirit, and then one goes from Elijah to Elisha. It's the same person, they just have a different role to step into. The person in front of them is very similar to Elijah. The person behind them is similar to Elijah. So when they step into the role, and then out of that one to the next one, it's hard to determine and pick one specific person because everybody is similar.
They have to be here because he gives them the power. He didn't say, I'm going to send them down and give them power. He says, I will give power, so they have to already be here.
Yep, so back in January 1st, 2018, I was only up for 9 months. And I don't know if I came across Steve Ben-Nun just yet. But I started to come across SJD. And the beginning of the fall of man.
Flowing shower of great hailstones of fire and brimstone. Again, the ministry of the two witnesses. being shown in this day. Now, I said to you I would show you that Moses never fulfilled everything that God said he would do. Let me share that with you now. Exodus chapter 15. In fact, Rashi, the great Torah commentator, also noted this as well. And that's how I actually learned about this, was when we were doing the documentary, or beginning the process of the documentary for the book that I wrote, Yam Suf. If you haven't ever read it, you might want to get that book. Very interesting book there, especially the last.
And then, if you remember, well, people that write books, they also could be writing scripture, and they could be, like, who was Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? They were writers because they wrote stuff down, or they had stories to tell. So if you've written books and produced them, then you're doing a lot of writing behind the scenes, a lot of connecting the dots with ancient texts and those types of things.
Chapter, my favorite chapter, the redemption of Israel. But anyway, it says here, and a good friend of mine, a rabbi that was actually in that documentary there, said to me, he says, Rashi quoted Exodus chapter 15 and said that Moses would return in the Messianic age. And here it is. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he is highly exalted, and the horse and his rider hath he thrown into the city. See, okay, now, this has a different implications in Hebrew. Az yashir Moshe uvenei Yisrael et hashirah hazot l'Adonai ve'yomu lemor ashirah l'Adonai ki ga'ol go'ah.
Rabbi Gilzer, for his horror codes, identified Moses and Elijah returning to Israel with the Messiah. We share in this video the amazing code backed up biblical proof. So with Moses and Elijah, these two are playing out, and then the Messiah, that's being played out, and they would be the three. I would think that this would be Peter, James, and John. Peter, James, and John, whichever one is. And then there's Jesus. But with this, it's these three first.
Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people. This is Titus, the Roman general. That day I will make the chiefs of Judah like a pan of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire among the sheaves, and they shall devour all the peoples round about. On the right hand and on the left of Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. And the Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem be not magnified above Judah. They shall look upon me because they have thrust him through, and they shall mourn for him as one that mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one in bitterness for his firstborn. You will look upon the very one that you allowed, the Roman government that you put yourself under, even as you are under the Roman government today in Israel. You will look upon the very one that they thrust through. As prophesied of here in Psalm, and set thy cause before thine eyes. I will remember Israel. You will look upon the very one that they thrust through. What happens at the same time that this goes on? Then he says in verse 3, and I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. Now I want you to notice
that on January 1st, 2018, if you took those days and counted it from that point on, that was Jonathan Kleck's last video on his main Jonathan Kleck YouTube channel.
His code, he actually asks the question, who are the anointed ones? Well, it's Moses and Elijah coming with God to with the Messiah to Israel.
Moses and Elijah coming with the Messiah And this is January 1st, 2018.
All right, to Israel, La Yisrael.
Remember, they come first.
What an incredible code that is. Now, of course, he's questioning whether or not it would actually be this year that we're coming into now. Would they actually come this year? That's part of the way his code works out here, so that question is being presented. So,
sounds like a yes. Sounds like that is exactly when it started. And then because halfway through that wasn't that when the Pope was crowned? January 1st, 2014. And that's halfway through. And then right now we're at another halfway through would be 8 years. That's only if it began back then. But Steve's saying it's this year, so sometime in 2018.
If he fails, if his prophecy fails, he was to be considered a false prophet in
Man, have I heard that?
Israel. And in fact, that would actually be a life sentence. That's why I take it very seriously when we talk about things that are dealing with prophecy and nature. But nonetheless,
I was only 9 months in. I was a baby, still in diapers, pooping my pants as a YouTube child.
that's the house of Israel. Not the house of Judah. Remember, Zechariah says that the house of Judah will return home first, that the house of Israel does not lift up its foot against it. You know why it says that the house of Israel would not lift up its foot against it? Because the house of Israel are mostly believers of Yeshua. And that's a good thing that they believe that Yeshua is the Messiah. But believers of Yeshua. And that's a good thing that they believe that Yeshua is the Messiah.
That's a good thing that they believe that. Because when the Messiah...
But the problem is you don't know truly what the truth is of Yeshua. This is why you have thousands of denominations and none of them can agree with one or the other. You have to remember, this is the reflection that we find over in Revelation 11. Do you remember how it says that these are the two olive branches? Let's go back real quick. Let me just jump back, make sure you got it right. All right. These are the two olive trees and the two golden candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. Now, John is clearly identifying Zechariah's prophecy, chapter 4, about
John is clearly identifying that.
this. He said, behold, a candlestick of gold with a bowl upon the top of it, and 7 lamps thereon. There are 7 pipes, yea, 7 to the lamps which are upon the top thereof. Now that's Christ pouring out His Spirit. This 5G technology that would probably be willing to speak to me directly, not come on our show, I wouldn't think, but I think he'd be willing to tell me what the truth is. We're talking about a lifelong person in the industry. So I'm hoping to be able to pull some information together for you guys. We love you so much. Like I said, do ask the pastors you know, whether it be your pastors in your local church, your pastor, if you have an online ministry that you're following, challenge them. Ask them, what do you know about the Silk Road? What do you know about the 5G technology? What do you know? I mean, President Trump is involved in this.
President Trump is involved in this.
All right?
Who's Trump?
You know, President Trump has said a lot of wonderful things that really made us feel like that, you know, we were going to see a great nation. Ask them, though, what about... So, you know what? Yeah, there is coming a new, revived, great America again. But at what cost? This is what I'm talking about, guys. This is what I'm talking about. What cost is it going to be to you? Because when that church, when that Roman system,
AKA
Esau, is going down, the whole world mourns because in 1 hour she's brought to naught.
1 hour. I mean, that could be tomorrow if that city was Philadelphia. 19119/2022. I think it's 7,435 days in between the first 9/11 and the second, as a literal manifestation.
They say all the shipmasters. Why shipmasters? The Silk Road involves ship trafficking as well. In fact, Israel is trying to get involved in that with China as well, is making sure that their port in Haifa becomes a major distribution center. That's exactly right, Jonathan. 5G technology is extremely dangerous. And, the funny thing is we have actually been having, every one of us in our home has symptoms from it, because here in Europe, 5G technology is alive and well. It's very much being used here. And it is a tragedy what happens. And we couldn't even figure it out. I mean, for me, I deal with major fatigue problems that just come on me. I've never had these issues before.
Yeah, me neither.
And just suddenly I get extremely tired and don't know what to do. My son, he breaks out in rashes. And everything that 5G technology does is like this. And by the way,
yeah, as I have the heater on now, I feel my whole body's, my legs are vibrating, because it's aimed. I think I know why I seen Best Damn Podcast, John. It looked like it was cold that day. Like, I can see why. If you don't want to be zapped with electronics to make you fatigue, then turn everything off.
Those that are in the know about 5G towers and stuff are not permitted. They're sworn to secrecy and not permitted to say anything about it. But I am working on a connection that I have. Won't say who it is. You wouldn't know him anyway. But I have a connection that I might be able to find some hardcore facts of the dangers of this 5G technology that would probably be willing to speak to me directly. Not come on our show, I wouldn't think, but I think he'd be willing to tell me what the truth is. We're talking. It may take a few days. In fact, Thursday, I think, is when we're going to come out with the first broadcast really on this. But I had to bring this out because I'm thinking to myself, I listened to one video today, and I forget which person I listened to it on this Neom City. And I told my wife, I said, they don't have no idea what the significance of that location is. And immediately I began to think about all these pagan areas.
I think of this area
I began to
right
think about the city-state of the Vatican. I knew it was built on the ancient ruins of some ancient temple. I knew that they were built on a cemetery there of pagans. And
yeah, I mean, this is a cemetery.
I wasn't sure about London City. And then, of course, I look it up, and they discovered back after World War II, I think it was, the artifacts of an ancient Roman Mithras temple that was there. And of course, the D.C., I don't even really know. I'm sure there's something about D.C., what we have built there or what they've done there since we've become a nation. Who knows?
This was a screenshot yesterday on Steve's video.
Where it's at, and I took the time to blow that area up so you could see it a little bit better. I brought it in a little closer so you could see this area on the screen. Now, what I want you to pay attention to, this is a highway right here. You probably don't see it very well on your screen. The highway goes up, it turns to the left, and it goes across inside of there. Now, you'll notice that the city goes above that highway. It comes back down, and the mountain chain that is here, it is to the east of that mountain chain and comes back down, and of course, out into the Gulf of Aqaba. He had stage 4 cancer and was only given 3 to 6 months to live. The good news is, though, there is a treatment that my wife had recommended for a friend of ours in Europe that had the exact same cancer that he has, that was able to kill that cancer. And we know that Dr. Viglione would be able to help administer that for him.
So February, March, April is 3. May, June, July is 6.
Now, take that into consideration with what Paul said, right? Let's go over here. We wrestle. Let me get it over here right for you. Wrestle not. Okay? Again, to the body of Christ around the world. He's brilliant. I think and of course, I don't base the preaching of the gospel upon IQ, but we're talking about over 180 IQ. Just a brilliant man, but yet so humble you would never know that a man with a genius IQ like that is that smart. He's a scholar of the Greek language. He also understands the Hebrew language. And he's always just had an amazing ability to give.
Greek and Hebrew. So it's one side of the interpretation of Hebrew, and the other side is the Greek. How like Jacob and Esau have two different mindsets.
To the community where he lives, and he has helped people with over 35 years in ministry. And
so you help people who have over 35 years in ministry.
There were real, as we can clearly see here in the book of Numbers, there were fallen angels, because Anak, right here, Anak, he is from the fallen ones. That is literally what that means. Okay? That's exactly what that means. Guys, and I'm going to get an update on this very soon about the Saudi guy. I'm going to try to get some of these pieces put together. I have a report myself that I have to deliver. So I am very much interested in some of the responses on these things. But as I said, though, as you start to begin to look at chapter 2 near the end, now it's like, okay, this is what you have to do in order to have mercy. And of course, Yahweh fought for Israel back in those days. And we did see in the times of Egypt, the darkness that came into the land, the death angel, the meteorites that were hitting the places, with the animals that were dying. In other words, before they get here, the earth is going to quake. The heavens are going to tremble.
Why?
Asteroids, meteorites, things like that. The sun and the moon are going to become black. Why? Because the planet will literally black out the light that they're going to be giving off. And in other words, this literally, it's not just the word before. Livnav is like before your face. Oh, hang on, we're losing light, guys. Oh, hang on, we're losing. Livnav is like before your face. Oh, hang on, we're losing light, guys.
Oh man, the looks on your face sometimes, hilarious.
My apology. I'm sitting here reading all this, and I realize the light is quickly going dim in here.
That spirit. I'm going to turn down my light here just a little bit so that I'm not so washed out. There, I think that's a little bit better.
Lifnav, Ragaze Aretz.
You got cigarettes?
Before their face. In other words, this literally, it's not just the word before. Livnav is like before your face. Oh, hang on, we're losing light, guys. We are literally getting a description when it says before the face, if you translate it like that, lifnav, it is, in other words, before they get here, the earth is going to quake. The heavens are going to tremble. Asteroids, meteorites, things like that. The sun and the moon are going to become black. Why? Because the planet will literally black out the light that they're going to be giving off. And then we read verse 11. And the Lord Yahweh, Jehovah, however you want to pronounce that, uttereth his voice before his army.
And that would mean the people that know who that Yahweh is uttering his voice before his army, and his army knows, and the heavens will shake because of what's coming.
For his camp is very great, for he is mighty that executed his word. For great is the day of the Lord, and very terrible. Who can abide in it? Yet even now, saith the Lord, turn you unto me with all your heart, with fasting, with weeping, and with lamentation. Rend your heart, not your garments. Turn unto the Lord your God, for he is gracious and compassionate, long-suffering, and abundant in mercy, and repenteth him of the evil.
So he's repenting
Now,
of the evil,
this
turning away. And as Satan deceives the whole world, and he's loose to deceive the nations one last time, he's deceiving the plan, and it was cut off halfway.
I've had one friend of mine that has seen, we have one reptilian that is in captivity. When I say captivity, probably was put in prison for some reason or whatever, but
That would
their face,
like,
as I was
all the
told,
other
is
stuff I
similar to
showed
that
you
of a
proves-
lizard, but that does similarly, somewhat looks like a man. And I was told that their muscular, this is kind of probably exaggerated look that you see here, but I was told like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his heyday. I was also told, though, they run about 9 feet in height, and their skin is much like that of a lizard, is what they tend to, and their heads are more like a lizard head. All right. But now in this one here, you get that the legs being much more muscular, things like that. I don't say is exactly the right way of.
I'm looking for the connection with Hillary Clinton. It wasn't that reptilian that you just showed.
Month in the 7th day on the month upon the mountains of Ararat. Do you guys really know what this word means? All right.
You got the Holy Church, you got Hillary Clinton, Eye of the Tiger, faithful and true witness. But wouldn't that be the angel of the Church of Philadelphia? Faithful and true witness. I mean, it could be a psychopath as well, but you got to pick the correct word that's connecting to the question. Comes Hillary.
Have it spelled Aleph Resh Resh Tet in Hebrew. Okay, and they assume it's just a name for a mountain, but it's not.
But I also remember July 8th, 2020. Back on that day, when that water rose up out of nowhere. July 8th. The first time all year. 8:46 a.m. fountain.
And this is something else I found very fascinating, so I just figured I'd just share this with you. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's not called Ararat, but Harat. Harat literally means the mountain of the cursed. And there's a speculation that I have on that, and so I can't say it just outright. It's still just a hypothesis, maybe would be the better way to put it. But we know in the Dead Sea Scrolls too, we have several places there that actually speak about that when the Nephilim fell, they were as tall as cedars, and they looked like their bodies appeared to be like mountains. It says the day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat. Now,
The day and the month upon the mountains. I was there that day, on that month, upon that mountain. Yep, July 8th, 2020, 5:55 a.m. Standing alone where Rocky's footsteps are.
In the heavens during the Lord showing up, making his presence known in the heavens during the time that I
See, that's correct. Correct way of saying it. In the heavens, the Lord shows up. In the heavens, through the Spirit. What is the Spirit saying to you?
stepped out on faith, and the Lord told me, I want you to tell them and the people that I took that I am going to share with you what the Lord has shown me. He told me to share it with a few of you guys, not a bunch, just a small group, and to share it with them and to step out on faith, and that he would show up during me sharing that. But he said we had to do it out at the Ark, because the Ark is kind of out in the country and it's real dark and you can look up and see the stars and stuff. And so it was just phenomenal. Do y'all remember the testimony I gave you about when the Lord told me, hey, I want you to go to the alley in the morning. I will show you, I'll meet you there, and I'll show you that everything that you put in the shipping container was correct. Do y'all remember that testimony?
Yep. That was down this alley over here. There's 100% no lying airplane is down there. That pile of poop. That, it looks like a book in the middle of this.
People that were going with me, that I was going to show them something at the Ark that they would not believe, and it would almost be impossible for them to believe what I was going to share with them. And this is what I told them. I said, this might be impossible for you to believe, but the Lord told me just to step out on faith. He will show up. He will show up to prove it's true. Boy, did he show up. He show up. It's just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, we were jumping around with our hands in the air, looking up at the heavens going, oh my God, talk about the Lord showing up.
Well, that just turned on now, obviously. It's 8:45 a.m. July 8th, 2020. This is that building that, to me,
It's interesting. He witnessed that he was the Messiah. But
2014.
Jesus put the Elijah coming also in the future where he restores all things.
In the
And
future,
of course, over here in the book of John, we find out
John,
he sends Moses
Moses,
to accuse.
And just to let me know that
Point
the
out
mission that
sins
I'm
of
on
Israel.
to resolve
Elijah will come to
the riddle of
restore order.
ages, like he told me a long time ago, Jonathan, I'm going to
Interesting.
use you to
You know, the
solve the
Bible
riddle
says
of ages. And I
that they will take hold of the skirt of Israel of her sins to point to see the Messiah. So God gave them the Messiah by John the Baptist introducing the Messiah. He fulfilled the heart of the fathers, them the Messiah as a witness. Jesus put the Elijah coming also in the future where he restores all things.
so Moses comes first, then Elijah. So with this script being played out, starting back in 2011, really, Moses would be first, and then Elijah comes and restores all things. So back then, because I'm always trying to figure out the script, and I'm trying to put people in place and say, like, he kind of reminds me of playing that role, and he reminds me of playing this role. Get ready to freak out, where Moses and Elijah would be like two people that would get there first, and then the Messiah comes somewhere around like the beginning of 2018, and then that starts with the three: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Peter, John, and James. Is that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? It's always those three.
But he's actually speaking of the coming second witness here, just as he speaks of Elijah as well.
Elijah comes to restore all things. So this is like what I've learned is on YouTube, everything's about opposites. So if somebody was to play the Christ role, they would be more leaning towards trying to aim you in believing that they would be a witness. And then if there's the witnesses, then they would kind of lean you, try to get you to believe that they were the Messiah. And then that way there's so many layers of onions you got to peel off. They'll have a vicar of Christ, they'll have a vicar of Lucifer. That way you can aim your direction. Oh, well, it's written, so it must be true. Everything that's true is what is unsearchable. Just like celebrities with eye patches over their right eye. Well, if your right eye is connected to the Lord God above, and then you're in rebellion against God because you're like this. So if I say F you, pay me, I'm sorry, God, I got to close my right eye first and then do that to Satan, angel of the bottomless pit. But how would you know that that's true? You can't search the matter out. It's not going to be written down anywhere stating how obvious something is.
Those honor upon one another, as if there's someone great. You know what's funny? The Pope of Rome actually is supposedly in the place of Christ. Yet the Jews never would accept Yeshua as being the one that Moses wrote about. But this man here who claims to be in the place of Christ, yes, you do receive him, because why? He came in his own name, and he bestows honor upon you, and you bestow honor upon him. Is that not right? Yes, I speak to all of the leaders of Israel.
And didn't you say just earlier about Christ identifying the second witness? Like right here. So if anybody was the second, like let's say the Pope was really the second witness, but he's being worshipped as the Messiah. And you were told beforehand that that's the case. And then you pick that in the end, and then Satan deceives the entire planet.
But it looks like the two witnesses will come on the scene. As I said, Yeshua clearly has identified one as being Moses. You don't realize that at first because it just looks like he's doing it as his historical thing. But notice again, verse 42 in John's Gospel, 5th chapter.
And it could also mean, again, one person could be playing the Moses at first, and then he becomes Elijah, he comes next, and then he becomes the Messiah. But it's like a 4-year process in between, 3.5 each level up. And then there's going to be the actual single individual people that are playing that role as well. That's why I think the Philadelphia landscape has the 3 swan creatures in the middle, where it could represent the Vatican as the Philadelphia, a little bit of strength, playing the Bible literally, Philadelphia getting destroyed, getting hit with a, I don't know, asteroid or something, like the William Penn clock tower coming from the west. There's a he-goat that comes from the west. And that's the target. And that's the literal Philadelphia way. And then there's the Pope, the Vatican, over in the actual Vatican.
But I know you that you have not the love of God in you. I am come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive.
So the people are going to receive someone that comes in their own name, like the Pope. You won't receive anybody that comes in the name of the Lord, because it's like, well, where's the Lord at? Oh, no, this is just a spirit. I'm coming in the name of the Father, the Spirit. It's not an actual person. Matter of fact, you've never seen God, and you never will. Coming in that name. That's not... Like, some people want to see a literal manifestation of a person named Yahweh who comes in his own name. Him you will receive, because this makes the world go round, and he's able to have that control.
He prophesied that you would accept this agreement.
He already, like Steve told you, that agreement would be accepted back then.
With this man that has come to broker this peace. The Pope of Rome is the one that you bestowed the honor on. No, you've not bestowed any honor on John Kerry or any of the other ones there. The Pope of Rome is the one that you bestowed the honor on.
Back December 18, 2014.
Zechariah chapter 8. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. Interesting, isn't it? Him. The next city-state that is being anticipate, what can we expect? And those of you that may not know what Neom is the next city-state that is being built in Saudi Arabia. It will be just like Washington, D.C. It'll be just like Vatican City and London City, all three of the three city-states that actually rule and govern the world. But we're going to be getting very deep into this over the next coming days. So if you have friends that are really interested in knowing what's happening and knowing how the things are connecting together, I encourage you to have them join us here on Israeli News Live. Make sure they see this video here. Again, I'm still pulling things out that are just really amazing. And I'm maybe a little bit premature on this broadcast, but I felt I really needed to share this with you guys because Neom is going to be an AI city. It will be a city-state within Saudi Arabia. It will have its
Possibly.
own constitution. It'll be a city
Surprise
full of
guest.
robots, everything artificial. It will be open to a free trade zone. It'll be open to a free trade zone that covers even Israel, Jordan, Egypt, connecting these countries here together as part of this free trade zone. And it'll be a destination spot, a travel spot for people to come to from around the world. It is a futurized city to a free trade zone that covers even Israel, Jordan, Egypt.
Israel, Jordan, Egypt, all nations. This computer is just balls ass slow. Must be a lot of people on my computer. Israel, Egypt. Israel's all the way down that side. Egypt. In the middle. And then the Jordan down here by the Binswanger Triangle.
Connecting these countries here together as part of this free trade zone, and it'll be a destination spot, a travel spot for people to come to from around the world. You know that Vatican City, London City, and Washington, D.C., all three of these, as they call it, the Trinity network there that actually runs the world economic systems. It runs, call it the Trinity network there that actually runs the world economic systems. It runs the world's military, the world's spiritual head. They're bringing about a new world order.
So one of them runs the military. So it's like when you have the military on one end, and you have the spiritual side on that end, and then you have the money side on this end. Get ready to freak out with this green.
The rule of ages is solved.
With the green background. INL 50, the code INL 50, NLIL 50.
Israel is working with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia for this deal there.
So Israel's working with the Crown Prince, Saudi Arabia, and
I know who we are, obviously where we come from. I
had an article up before, maybe, let me see, I'll pull up over here. Maybe I can find it real fast.
There you go, cover up that part. Damaging the Hill, like the Hill of Hillary Clinton, ex-CIA chief, would be
that particular window. I apologize. I did have that up. Israel is working with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia for this deal there. I had developing the proposed 26,500 square kilometer smart city zone. The Jerusalem Post has learned a blow to the decades-long Arab League boycott of the Jewish state. The sovereign wealth fund is owned and controlled by the Saudi state there. Now, Israel is coming into this because Israel will also, along with Jordan and Egypt, they will.
That's what I just showed you. Israel. Israel. Jordan. Egypt. In this small landscape.
Project, but I wanted to get into a totally different aspect, something that I don't think anyone has been able to put together as of yet. I want to greet.
Well, you're talking about aspects. An aspect would be the specs. An aspect. Like, what are the specs? An aspect. That would be an apple with a serpent coming out of this aspect.
These are really heavy involved in this project, but I wanted to get into a totally different aspect, something that I don't think anyone has been able to put together as of yet. I want to greet everybody, greet our moderators as well. Thank
Today's
you,
January
sisters,
18th,
for being here
2022.
tonight and helping with this chat room. We really appreciate you tremendously. But I don't see anything in the New World Order where they really care about God coming down and meeting Moses and giving him the 10 Commandments, especially in an AI city. In fact, with all the other city-states in the world having pagan traditions and pagan sacrifices that were offered at one time in Rome, Rome is actually, the Vatican itself sits on a pagan cemetery. London City is sitting on the remnants of a Roman pagan Mithras goddess place where they sacrifice bulls and stuff to the Mithras god. Rome also sacrificed these bulls. Then what do you know? What else happened at Mount Sinai? Remember the golden calf? Remember the worship of the golden calf? Interesting. And the sacrifice of the bulls. That, by the way, was an Egyptian trait as well. The Egyptians actually sacrificed the bulls as part of their rituals to their pagan gods. And I take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ. In other words, I am the anointed one, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars. He talks about the wars, rumors of wars. And he did this because he had found over on a place, you can't really see it on this map here, but it was a place called Nueva Beach. I'll bring that up for you here on the maps that I have already pulled up. I think I still have it pulled up.
The Lord made it happen, didn't he? He made sure that my LZ was split in half by a flood that happened after I drove off to go catch my plane. So I know the Lord can do anything. But now here's where the rubber meets the road. So the Lord told me, you have to commit. And you have to tell Corey and Zach in the car what I told you. And I was like, okay, so here's the deal, guys. You know, I'm like, here's what the Lord told me. That, and this is where they're going to jump in because I want their testimony. Because this is before the event happened that I'm about to show you. You're about to see. You're just about to see, like, what?
Yep.
You're going to freak out. So anyway, I told them, as I was driving, I said, look, so the Lord's revealed
January
to me
18th,
the end of the model.
Mm-hmm.
The model. With us like this, we get inverted, that's converted. But before we get converted, one eye goes to the pit, the other one goes to heaven, but the one in heaven, I told him, and you guys jump in now, so y'all, I want these guys to comment. So what I said was, what I'm going to share with you is very hard to believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
I told him, I said, it's very hard to believe it, because in San Antonio, when the Lord revealed it to me, I mean, my spirit bared witness that it was true, and I was like, okay, I know it's true. And I don't think it's an accident that the back
End of the
of
model.
my hand is bleeding, and that my right hand, that, I mean, that's just weird.
Oh, you got the chip
I mean,
in your right
that
hand?
just happened. I moved my hand across the back of my other hand, it just started bleeding. Anyway, to believe. Yep. Is that how I started?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I told him, the Lord has revealed to me the end of the model, that the left eye goes to a worm in the pit.
Philadelphia Art Museum.
That's feeding off us. That's why the Bible says, I'll restore to you the years the locust has eaten, because every year of your life you're walking around, a locust is eating a year of your life. Makes total sense now. And then the other eye, I said, so here's the thing.
William Penn.
The Lord's going to let me show you
the end of
the end of the model, but I didn't tell you what it was, right?
No.
The William Penn
Okay,
building.
so I was like, I kind of left it hanging because
Yeah.
I needed the stars out at night. I needed the stars in order to use the stars as a visual, I don't like the word crutch, but a visual manifestation of saying, okay, now look up. The Lord said, go cast a lot and I'll show you. He showed me affirmation to prove to be true. But the Lord said, when we go tonight, He will prove it's true.
And where that came from.
So, I mean, here's two guys that were in the car with me. And I'm stepping off the cliff going like, oh man, I got to tell people, I got to be faithful.
Oh.
And so I got to tell them, hey,
You
this
see
is
that
what
laser?
the Lord said. So now I'm stepping off the cliff, and I told him, so the Lord said He would prove that it's true. So tonight, when we're done with our work, we're going to work all day doing our building thing to get ready. But then after that, I'm going to reveal to you what the Lord's shown me. I'm going to share with you. And He said He would prove to us it's true, and He'll show up. He's going to guaranteed show us it's true. Is that all true?
That's true. Absolutely.
Okay, so there it is. Now it's set up. Pretty committed to it. I'm like, well, it's going to happen tonight.
January 18th, 2022. Mars 9/11 mirror image number. January 19th, 2022. Philadelphia having a little bit of strength. There's two towers there. They look like twins.
This mystery, and the Lord's going to prove it. He's going to show up. But I need the stars to do it. So I was like, there's got to be stars out. And so we're driving, we're doing our work. And then as the day went on,
Stars out?
Corey was
Yeah, stars are out. Clear skies tonight in Philly. Well, Warminster, Warrington.
because it looks like, oh no, the clouds are coming in and now I'm going to look like an idiot. Because I told him the Lord said He would prove it tonight and He would show up. And so, no, that's Bible Gateway. Super cool.
Well,
but we're going to open up. This is the new folder. It says
6 to the 9th hour. 69 holes, 17th JFK.
Special Projects 2 New Testimony. So in this special
5:55 a.m. in the morning. January 19th. Opposite of 9/11. First 9/11 happened. Second 9/11. Hasn't happened yet. Or will it? Will it happen tomorrow? January 19th, 2022. Only the ones that are doing it would know.
Projects 2 New Testimony.
2, like second 9/11.
I'm going to show you this picture right here. That
William Penn W. When I click on William Penn, it goes to 6661 Germantown Ave, but it's really 1400 John F. Kennedy Boulevard.
That says it's upside down, capital T, capital E, and that's the letter A and another letter A intersecting it. They didn't cross the A's. This is parthenogenesis, guys. This whole U, and I understand the serpent's language, and then it's REX, but watch this. Look at the X. It's an upside down, right side up triangle, okay? And then
Triangle. Right side up, upside down triangle.
the number 168. Okay, I read their language. I know
168.
exactly what they're saying right there. T-Rex, Tyrannosaurus Rex, Tyrant Lizard King, Parthenogenesis. This is showing that he owns it. That is a 2x4 on the Tyrant Lizard King, Parthenogenesis. This is showing that he owns it. That is a 2x4 on all the walls of the building that we put out at the Ark. That Jim bought this building that was being traded in. It's kind of like a mobile home, but it's not. It's just all wood. And so Jim put that there, and it's been sitting there for, I don't know, it was 8 months or so. I don't know, quite a while.
8 months, Penn Center Building 8, 17th and JFK. Go over there here to Jacob's Ladder. There's that round building on the back of a $50 bill. Penn Center Building 8. And it says hard bomb. That's what I see out of it.
I don't know, it was 8 months or so. I don't know, quite a while. And so I said, let's take this building and let's turn it into this stuff for the well-being of other people.
So if that building goes down at 17 JFK, then it would be rebuilt for something better.
And so there's a layer of clouds
Coming
I'm
in
like,
the clouds.
No!
Wow.
And so I'm supposed to be dropping this super bomb on everybody, right? And I'm gonna drop this bomb, and I look up, and the clouds are out, and the moon is out, and I start explaining the whole. One eye goes up, one eye goes down, and the eye that goes up goes to a star, and that's what the Lord wants me to share with you, so you guys know the other eye in your head, your right eye, it goes, and one of those stars in the sky is you, and that's how the Lord looks down from heaven. And then we looked up, and what?
You saw him.
There was a total eye in the sky.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's out all around the eye. It was just enough cloud cover. And he told me, when you go and you commit to sharing this, I will show up. You'll know it's true. And I was anything you want to throw out there, like building, T-Rex, that was in your brain.
Oh, well, it's
My other phone, which is a phone that operates
891, but 168 upside down. 168. There's the red line. Looks like the William Penn building's getting hit by a laser. Yep. Both sides. We're in a corner. There's the whole outline. Nothing that I'm doing. I don't have it. I didn't. There's no GPS set up or anything.
Going to do the eye in the sky testimony.
5:55.
And then I arranged all these pictures right here in order to. What's happened here tonight? Oh my gosh. Let's just X. It's an X. It's an upside down triangle that goes to a circle that goes to a right side up triangle. That's what the V for vengeance on my parachute is. And that's what the Lord told me to do for Grand Junction, if you remember. And I was obedient. And I got to see the glory of God for being obedient. He said he would confirm it. And he did it with a pamphlet in the middle of the street. Today is something I couldn't even imagine. Come here, Corey, quick. You gotta see this. Look at my camera, look.
Oh yeah, wow.
And it's not, it won't do that normally. Today is something I couldn't even imagine. Come here, Corey, quick. You gotta see this. Look at my camera, look.
Oh yeah, wow.
And it's not, it won't do that normally.
Hunter Roberts.
Okay, so I'm going to try and videotape this. Watch, Corey, watch. Okay, so watch. Look. What the heck? And now look what's in the middle of it.
1/16/9/11, January 19th, 2022. So 9/11/2022, second 9/11.
For vengeance, and this manifested to a level that would just literally blow your mind. We have a bunch of different pictures of it, but there it is. There's, while I'm telling them that the Lord told me that the stars, those are us, and the eye that looks down from heaven that's the Lord looking through all our eyes, and we are.
The 12, so I saw a wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the 12 stars overhead, moon below her feet, Lucifer down there, and the sun overhead. Because from the east is where the sun comes up from here. So this is the sun. The sun is above her head. The 12 stars, 12 trees, and the moon being below her feet.
Showing you those two during this video. But yeah, how interesting that the Lord even allowed the use of the camera to convey the message, the V for vengeance. And I've been telling everybody, guys, we've rounded the corner. It's here. Oh, yeah. True or not true? True. I've just been like, I know it's here. The Lord keeps telling me it's here. Time's here. Okay, here we go. That the Lord even allowed the use of the camera to convey the message, the V for vengeance. And I've been telling everybody, guys, we've rounded the corner. It's here. True or not true?
True.
I've just been like, I know it's here. The Lord keeps telling me it's here. Time's here. Okay,
For
here
the
we go.
G.
Yeah, look for the G.
When
When we look up, literally, I'm looking
guy.
inside of a building and I go, look. Yeah, the Lord's telling me, like, look for the G, meaning He's coming. And that's what it was. I said, the Lord keeps telling me, like, look for the G. When I look up and I see that G, like, He's telling us He's coming. And then right then that's when it all rolled out. Like, yeah! We're all up. Is this true or not true? Okay. Everybody's looking up. Revelation of all revelations. And I'm going to share it with my very close friends here. And I will share it with everybody. I just want to figure out how to